Hey there, my friends. My name is Spencer Hughes, and I do a lot of deconstruction content on my social media, including right here where you are. And I thank you for watching this. Please like it, please share it, please get it out into the algorithms of social media so that more people can watch it and so that we can reach more minds out there. I'm going to read to you. I decided to do this on my YouTube because of the format. I don't think this answer is conducive to TikTok or to any other social media where most of the content is 60 seconds or under, generally speaking. I think this one required a little bit more of a fleshed out answer. And I have some notes. If you see me looking over here, these are my notes on the screen here. My mind is not what it used to be when I was younger. And even when I was younger, it wasn't all that. So I have to write notes to remind myself of key points I'd like to make. And I'm going to read to you an initial comment. This was not even on my own post. This was on, I believe, a friend's post. Yes, this was a friend's post on TikTok, and it showed a picture of Noah's Ark, way smaller than it would have needed to be, but obviously some type of an AI rendering of Noah's Ark on top of some kind of a mountain. But it's supposed to give you the impression that this is Noah's Ark and that it has landed atop a mountain. And the caption for this meme goes like this: two of every animal, but what happens if one died? That species would go extinct. And it set off a big conversation, and I chimed in, and other people chimed in. They didn't like what I had to say, including this one lady who we'll just call by her first name, Rhonda. And Rhonda posted this because I talked about all the food that it would have required. I think she was triggered by my point that they were on this ark for so long. How did they feed all the animals? Thousands and thousands of animals. You got to remember there were more animals at the start of the earth than there are today, because if you believe science, which I know many of you don't, many, many species, some people think upwards of 90% of the species that were once here are not here anymore. So doing the proper math, simple grade school math, there were far more animals at the start of this experiment than there are now, all these years into it, right? So I mentioned, how does this old man and his family, how do they care for it? Never mind getting all the animals on logistically, which would have been a nightmare. But imagine the feeding, all the poop, all the ammonia buildup. If you know your Bible, and most people don't, it says quite clearly that the ark had one opening. It had one window. One window. 8 people? And it had to be thousands and thousands, and if not tens of thousands of animals on this ship, which is ridiculous. And presumably they're all eating, they're all pooping, and that creates a problem. I could barely keep my animals fed, right? I'm constantly going to Costco and getting bags of food because they eat through it so fast. And I don't have lions and tigers and bears, oh my. These are dogs and cats. And they are still eating us to the poorhouse. So imagine all the food that Noah and his family would have had to put on that vessel, adding to the weight, adding to the space needed. Just the logistical nightmare of having that much food for that long. So this is why I wanted to flesh it out on YouTube, because I think people here are geared with a little longer attention spans because of the nature of the format. Although we do have shorts, which I love, and most of my videos are shorts, in fact, versus the long form. But I want to start doing more of these long form videos. Others have good luck with, hour-long videos. Maybe I'll have good luck with a 10 or 12-minute one here. So Rhonda commented this. I just wanted to give you some backstory just so you know the context of her comment. She said, how do you think they do all that in zoos? Those animals are caged up all day, every day, and cared for by humans for their entire lives. These animals were on that boat for just a little over 3 months. Read about how Noah was instructed to build the ark. Yahweh was very specific, and he had all this in mind and gave Noah and his family the knowledge needed to take care of business. He is the great I am. Here we get into the preaching, which has nothing to do with the topic. He is the great I am who was, is, and will always be. Something our human mind simply cannot fathom. which is a whole separate issue I get into in depth in my, especially on my TikToks. I get this a lot. Our minds can't comprehend God. Well, who designed it that way? God must not have wanted us to figure him out, because he designed our minds to not be able to understand him. He could have made it so our minds understood him, but he decided not to. All right, back to the comment. The Bible is real. They are finding proof everywhere of specific things mentioned in the Bible. Read it. I did. I was a Christian for 40 years. I actually have a collection. I don't want to move the angle of the camera. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Bibles on my bookshelf. I challenge any Christian watching this to tell me they have 11 Bibles at home. You'll be lucky if they say they have one. So I have read the Bible. I was a Christian for 40 years, got the t-shirt 1,000 times over, Rhonda. Oh, I mean, really go in with open eyes, right? Christians who you disagree with say you're reading the Bible blindfolded, I guess. You're not reading it in the proper spirit. I love that, apologetic. I'm not reading the Bible correctly. Words don't mean words. Context. Is it hyperbole? Is it mythology? Is it myth? Is it exaggeration? Is it this, that, or the other? Ask for his truth and not what corrupt Christianity has bred for hundreds of years. It is mind-blowing what he will show you. Simply amazing. And this is my response. I'm going to share it with you now. This idea, I'm going to focus on the main part because she got all into the weeds here in different topics, but I want to stick to the topic where she goes, how do you think they do that in zoos? Those animals are caged up every day of their lives, and they're fed and they're taken care of. There's no problem here. There's no inconsistencies. I just lost everything. No, I didn't lose everything. So let's get into this because I wrote down some notes. And it has to do with just the logistics of what Rhonda is saying and the logic or illogic of what Rhonda is saying. All right. Yes, zoos take care of a lot of animals, but they don't take care of every animal on Earth, Rhonda. Do they? Is there a zoo on this planet that has 2 or 5 or 7 of every animal that was here at the beginning of the Earth? I don't think so. I grew up in San Francisco, and we had a pretty decent zoo. Nothing like the LA or San Diego zoos in terms of scope and size, but it was a decent zoo, and we had lions, tigers, and bears, and chimps, and gorillas, and orangutans, and even an alligator. We had an albino alligator at the San Francisco Zoo. We had a lot of animals. We had gazelle. We had... I don't know, porcupine. We had hippos. I don't know, fill in the blank. We had quite a few animals at the San Francisco Zoo. But I would argue they probably had 100 animals tops. Maybe not even that. Maybe as a kid it seemed like 100. But if I actually counted all the enclosures and all the environments, they might have only had a few dozen animals, in fact. So here we are comparing already, illogically, emotionally, comparing a zoo that has a finite number of animals, usually a few dozen. Some zoos don't even have that. Some smaller zoos have maybe 10 animals you get to look at, and you're done in half an hour. But even the bigger zoos don't have thousands of animals. And if they do, there's a lot of repetition. They might have 1,000 like peacocks or something, but they're not going to have 1,000 different animals. I don't care how big the zoo. I don't think there's any zoo that has that many animals. So we're talking about a finite number of animals versus thousands and thousands of animals, if you believe the Noah's Ark story is truth. Zoos have regular staff members. They have full-time staffs. Noah and his wife and kids were taking care of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of animals on their own. And by the way, I want to clear up something here. It is actually not true what Rhonda said, and it's a misconception many Christians have who have never read the Bible, that they were only on that ark for about 3 months. That is absolutely not true. You can triple check, quadruple check my work here, but they were on that ark for over 370 days or so. It was over a year, just over a year and change, right? They were on it, according to biblical accounts, 7 days before the flood. They were on there 40 days and nights of rain. 150 days, the waters continued to rise until they covered the earth, presumably. 150 days, the waters began to recede. The ark eventually rested on the mountaintop there, Mount Ararat, it is believed. So they were roughly 71 days, something like that. They were not there for 3 months. I don't know where you're getting 90 days, but it wasn't 90 days. So you're mistaken there. So already we're starting off to a bad start with your math, Rhonda. They were only on there for 3 months. They were on there for over a year. So we're expected to believe that Noah and his wife and kids took care of all these animals, fed them presumably daily. It's not kind to feed these animals. I guess some may not feed every day, but most animals like to be fed every day. I know I do. And the waste, imagine all the waste, especially of the big mammals. Lots of waste. You ever seen like gorillas just pooping everywhere, and the lions and tigers and bears? Oh my, that's a lot of poop. So zoos have full-time staffers to feed the animals, to clean the animals. The food comes in every day. They don't have storage facilities at zoos to contain all the food that it would take to feed those animals. So you have semis coming in all the time from the suppliers, bringing in the raw meat, bringing in the supplies, bringing in whatever herbs, vegetables, meat, whatever it is these animals are eating. It's constantly brought in. I'm looking at my notes here because these all came to me like that. And I said, if I don't write these things down, I'm going to have a problem here. So zoos have specialized staff. They also have modern enclosures. They have modern tools. They have a trained staff. I already mentioned that. And the ark had what? A handful of people? And they had all this knowledge from God about how to take care of animals. Would you know how to take care of a lion as opposed to a tiger? I don't. Did God whisper all this into Noah's ears? Did he give him an instruction sheet on how to take care of these animals? Would you know how to take care of an aardvark? Would you know what a porcupine eats? I have no idea what a porcupine eats. So they'd have to have the right foods for the right animals, the right amount, and all the shit that these animals would create would be unimaginable. Remember, only one opening on the ark, one window anyway, not necessarily opening, but one window on this ark. No modern facilities, no modern ways of capturing the poop, I guess, or disposing of the waste. And they were on it for over a year, Rhonda, not 3 months. So we're talking about 4 times longer than you presumed. So that's a long time. A year to have that much food. They couldn't stop somewhere. They couldn't stop at the feed store if they ran out. They couldn't pick up some animals for the carnivores to eat on the way. The world was ravaged while this flood was taking place. Not only would they have to have a year's worth of food all at once, again, because they didn't pit stop, they had no refrigeration. They had no modern way of preventing this food from spoiling. You ever think of that, Rhonda? How did this food stay good for a year? You think they had raw meat for a year? Are you kidding me? Have you ever smelled raw meat after a couple of hours, after a day or two? You got to be kidding me. They had a year's worth of raw meat for the carnivores to eat? Even if it was cooked meat, it would still spoil. There's no refrigeration on board this thing. There's no way to manage that amount of food without it spoiling. Huge amounts of waste. No modern conveniences. One window. They would have all expired from ammonia poisoning. Lord knows if we don't change the cat box every day, we could barely breathe in our bedroom. From the cat poop from a day, 1 day's worth of cat poop. It's almost unbreathable, the air. Imagine that ark with tens of thousands of animals on board, or at least thousands, if not tens of thousands. So zoos have specialized teams, modern techniques and tools, experts on the animals, which you would need, because all animals are different. What about the animals that got sick? Did they have a veterinarian on board? Did they have a veterinarian on board to take care of all the sick tigers and monkeys? This is just so next level apologetics. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. Never mind that you couldn't navigate a ship this big. What was Noah sitting there with his wheel? Was he had his wheel there? 100-year-old Noah with the wheel? None of this makes any sense. None of this. Your rational brain has to tell you that this is all ridiculousness. Oh, and by the way, if you think this is particularly original, you should read the Epic of Gilgamesh and other legends and lore of great floods. Have you read the Legend of Gilgamesh? You can Google a synopsis if you want. It's almost the exact same story. The gods, this was plural, the gods were angry and they flooded the earth, and there was a big boat with animals and people on it, and that's how they saved themselves, and that's how humanity was able to recover, because the last remaining life forms were put on this vessel. Sound familiar? And that was written quite a bit before the Noah story. I'm sure it was a coincidence. I'm sure they didn't steal it from the Epic of Gilgamesh. I'm sure nobody stole it from them. I'm sure they didn't hear about it. I'm sure it wasn't whispered the way legends are whispered to various people in various cultures. It's called oral history. So what are your thoughts? Drop a comment down below. I think it's time to stop here, but it's so ridiculous to compare a zoo, saying that you could have all these animals at a zoo. We've already pointed out, not the same amount of animals. A zoo could not be run by a 100-year-old man and his wife and few kids. A zoo has a trained, expert staff. Each one does different things. The waste management, the feeding, the food management, the storage of the food, the logistics of a year on this ark, Rhonda, not 3 months. You got your math wrong. 4 times longer than you thought. It couldn't have been done. And it wasn't done. Noah's Ark is not a real story. It is a fairy tale in a book full of fairy tales. I'm Spencer Hughes. Again, drop a comment down below. Like the video if you liked it. Follow me if you want to follow me. Unlike Yahweh, I'm not going to threaten you to follow me. I'm not going to give you an ultimatum to follow me. So don't worry, I'm harmless. I'm not the God of the Bible who's going to threaten you into liking him and loving him. If you want to like me and love me, give a thumbs up, leave a comment, show your support, give me a follow. I would love it. But I'm certainly not going to hold it over your head and give you ultimatums or fill you full of needless fear and irrational fear that you need to follow me here. I'm not the God of the Bible. I'm just a guy on social media. I'll talk to you soon, and thank you very much. If you made it to the end, let me know. Drop a comment, say made it to the end, and let me know your thoughts on this absurd comparison between taking care of animals at a zoo, leading to the conclusion that Noah and his family had no problem taking care of every animal, 2 to 5 to 7, depending on what count you want to go with, of every animal on the earth at the start of this experiment called Life on Earth. It's unbelievable. The wild apologetics. I can't get my head around the stories that people believe in the name of religion. Grown-ass men and women believing stories that a logical 5-year-old would see all the holes in. I'll talk to you later.